Fantastic. Before I get into my story, I'd like to share with you something that I noticed the other day because I'm now sober. I saw a commercial for Vagisil the other day, and the commercial was pretty ordinary. I've seen it 1,000 times before, but for the first time I noticed at the end of the commercial, at the bottom of the screen, in very small print, it said, based on a study which showed an overall reduction in odor. I couldn't help but think, what kind of fucking study did they do that showed an overall reduction in odor? There's really only one way to do that, and that's just to have a bunch of guys smell vagina. What? You think of another fucking way to do that study. There's no other way. And the only way science works is if you have a control. So there were a bunch of guys that didn't get paid to smell nasty pussy all day. And now that we've done that, we'll move on to a new fairy tale. And just to mix this one up a little bit, I told Kyle, at some point during this, Kyle gets to choose. At some point, whenever I get finished with a line, Kyle is going to ding me. And when he does that, I have to make up a new line. So, just to make it a little different. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who was loved by everyone, but most of all by her grandmother, who would give anything to the child, even the Lane Bryant stretch pantsuit off her back. One day, she gave the child a lovely little riding hood made out of crushed red velvet as soft and inviting as the smooth skin of Dean's inner thighs. The hood suited her so well that she'd never wear anything else, so she was known as Little Red Riding Hood. One day, her mother said to her, "Come, Red Riding Hood. As you know, your grandmother has been very ill for quite some time. And even though she's very wealthy and can afford many doctors, they still can't determine what's wrong with her. However, I believe I have a solution." Her mother reached over and picked up a picnic basket from the floor and set it in front of Red. "Here's what I need you to do, darling," her mother said. "Inside this basket there is a bottle of Valium. I need you to walk over to your grandmother's house, crush up all the pills in this bottle, and mix them into her oatmeal. That should help ease her pain. "Okay, Mommy," replied Red Riding Hood. "Good girl," said her mother. "Now Grandma might say that the oatmeal tastes funny, but make her eat it anyway, because we don't want to, fuck this up, because we won't inherit if the euthanasia doesn't work." "Okay, what does euthanasia mean?" It's a fancy word for fixed, dear," her mother replied. "But you probably shouldn't use that word in front of Grandma, okay? Inherit either, don't use that word." "Okay, Mommy." And with that, she grabbed a picnic basket and set off. Red Riding Hood went off to her grandmother's house, which was about half a league away, deep in the woods, in a little cabin that used to belong to a man named Kaczynski. She had scarcely walked 5 minutes when she came upon an enormous wolf. Most little girls would have been startled and frightened, but since Red Riding Hood had been born and raised Catholic, she was quite used to seeing scary and atrocious shit all the time, and this left her pretty much unfazed. My, the wolf said as he licked his lips. "What a tasty-looking child you are." "Great, another parish priest," Red thought to herself. "I'm sorry, I don't have time for tuggies today, Father," she said. The wolf was outraged. "I'm no Catholic," he bellowed while producing a copy of the Watchtower from his pocket. "Oh, I'm sorry," Red apologized. "I really must be going, though." "What's the hurry?" asked the wolf, still reeling from being mistaken for a pedophile. "My grandmother is very sick," said Red. "I'm on my way over there to euthanize her." "I beg your pardon?" the wolf asked. "I'm going to euthanize my grandma. That way my mom can inherit." "I see," said the wolf, who no longer had any interest in eating the little girl. "Yeah, say, what does inherit mean? I forgot to ask my mom that one." Thinking quickly, the wolf replied, "Well, it means, it's a fancy word for stop worrying." Oh, okay, so my mom just wants to quit worrying about my grandma. Thanks for your help, Mr. Wolf. But of course, he replied with a smile. In fact, where's your mother right now? I'll go keep her company and comfort her while you take care of your grandmother. Wow, really? That'd be so nice of you, said Red Riding Hood. Just go up the road behind me. Our house has a big red door. It's not far. You can't miss it. Excellent, jeered the wolf. Now you be on your way, little girl, and take care. There's all sorts of bad and evil creatures in these woods. Okay, tell my mom I'll be home for supper. I have no doubt, said the wolf as the little girl skipped off. Several hours had passed. It was now late afternoon, and the sun was setting faster than Josh would go down on Andrea if she didn't have any standards. Little Red Riding Hood was just arriving back at her mother's house. She was exhausted, upset, and emotionally drained, like Andrea would be if she didn't have any standards and let Josh go down on her. Mom, she cried out as she walked through the front door. Where are you? A voice called out from the back room. I'm in here, sweetie. Red Riding Hood started making her way to her mother's bedroom. Something's wrong with Grandma, Mom. I did like you said and fed her the oatmeal, but then she just stopped moving. I thought maybe she was asleep, but I couldn't wake her up. She turned the corner and entered the bedroom. Her mother was sitting in bed wearing a nightgown and cap, but Red Riding Hood couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Are you okay, Mom? She said slowly. Why, yes, I'm fine, replied her mother. Come here, my child. Red Riding Hood took a step forward. My, what big eyes you have, she said. Her mother smiled. All the better to see you with, my dear. As she said this, she reached forward with one of her hands. But before she knew what was happening, Red Riding Hood produced a .357 Magnum from the picnic basket hanging off her arm. All right, motherfucker, hold it right there, she yelled while pointing the gun toward the center of the nightgown. You think I'm fucking retarded? I know a goddamn wolf when I see one. The wolf was frozen like Eskimo pussy.
Ding!
The wolf was paralyzed like Stephen Hawking.
Ding!
The wolf was terrified like Justin Bieber at John Wayne Gacy's house. Are you done? Thank God. What are you gonna do? That depends entirely on you, Red Riding Hood snapped. Where's my mom? The wolf swallowed like a pretty blonde college student, but said nothing. Red pointed the gun downward and shot the wolf in the left kneecap. He howled like a wolf that had been shot in the left kneecap. Oh, you fucking lazy writer, he yelled as he fell over on his side. Maybe if you hadn't been blowing Andy all day and actually spent some time writing this fucking story, you wouldn't have to use such shitty metaphors. Red Riding Hood pointed the gun at the wolf's other knee. No, Jesus Christ, stop, I'll talk. I killed your mother. Wrong answer, snapped Red as she pulled the trigger a second time. Now both of the wolf's legs were ruined, and he was bleeding like a wolf that had been shot in both like a last day of a month-long feminist convention. I'm sorry, he cried out. I was just trying to defraud the government. I thought if you killed your grandma and I posed as the heir, I could inherit everything. Please, just don't shoot me anymore. Red Riding Hood was staring at her victim, watching him writhe in pain. Don't worry, she snickered. I'm not going to shoot you again. I promise. The wolf breathed a sigh of relief, but a split second later the relief receded as the smell of gasoline hit his nose. He looked up from the bed to see Red Riding Hood standing in the doorway holding a can of gasoline, pouring it onto the floor of the bedroom. The wolf's eyes grew as wide as my ex-girlfriend's ass, but before he could speak, Red struck a match and threw it to the floor. 10 years had passed since her family had died and Red Riding Hood inherited her grandmother's fortune. She had taken up with Cinderella, another orphan girl who lost everything in a fire. They now lived in Venice and ran a revenge-for-hire business out of the chateau. One morning, while Red and Cinderella were eating lunch, their maid arrived. Sorry to disturb you, ladies, she said, but you have a visitor, someone who wishes to hire your services. What's their name? Asked Red. Quasimodo, the maid replied. The end. To be continued. Thank you very, very much. I'll see you next week. Have a great evening.